big story surrounding the New Orleans Saints, it's the offense, and it's starting with the offensive line and how to fix it. Well, new offensive line coach John Benton gave us a sneak preview behind the curtain. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Now, the Saints desperately need to fix some problems on the offense. They need innovation, improved performance, because they've really struggled with finding effectiveness in the red zone to score touchdowns. There's a lot of things that more wrong than right what we've seen the last really since about 2021, but especially the last 2 years. There's more wrong and more to fix with the offense than is right. And it's going to be up to Clint Kubiak, and he's changing the scheme. He's uh, more efficiency with the play calling, better play calling. This should all roll in and help the offense out if we can get everything together. And that's going to start with the offensive line. New offensive line coach John Benton gave an interview last week in OTAs, and he kind of dropped some pretty big hints about the direction of the new scheme and about rebuilding the offensive line. It's a real quick interview, 5 or so questions, not really long explanatory answers, but he was being honest, and he talked honestly about some really key points that I think are worthy of having a discussion. So we're going to break down and talk about what John talked about in that offensive line Q&A with reporters.
Truth, two equal, you'll go for the more athletic. You do run more. It's less of, for lack of a better term, less of the traditional, get in there and grind it out and power steps and talking about that. And what we do is we run off the ball. We try and beat defenders to spots on the field and stop pursuit. So we do a lot of things that are on the more athletic side of things as opposed to just finding out if we're bigger and tougher, I guess, so to speak.
And I would imagine Fuaga.
Basically, what John Benton's talking about there is just gap scheme versus zone scheme. Saints have historically been mostly gap. They did run some zone at times, both under Sean and a little bit, very little and hard to recognize because they didn't do it well last year under Pete Carmichael. But the difference is, and he's kind of telling us this, is that in the gap, you're kind of physically dominating the defender with power. In essence, you're trying to move the mountain out the way for the ball to find space and get through it. In his own scheme, what you're trying to do is get the mountain to move. Either, well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. A lot of it is with motion, setup of the scheme, where personnel is deployed. But at the snap of the ball, typically the offensive line is moving, not necessarily moving forward in the gap, trying to overpower someone. Could be a little more horizontal. There's a lot of rules that go into it. But basically, what he's saying is they have to be more athletic than necessarily physical. He wants to be physical. This isn't some soft version of trying to play offensive line, but they have to be able to move, as he's saying, get to their spots, cut off pursuit. What he didn't talk about that I know happens a lot in the zone scheme is a primary block by an offensive lineman, say on a defensive lineman, and then disengaging or passing him off to another blocker to get downfield to pick up the next block. So there's a lot going on in both schemes. But basically what he's saying is we're going to be a little, not completely not physical, but a little less physical and more athletic.
Fits that vision pretty well, then? Or
Who does?
Taliese Fuaga?
Oh my God, yes, yes, he fits it real well. I tell you, I think the group is as a whole is good, but obviously Tally fits the scheme incredibly well. He ran a very similar scheme. I've known his line coach from college for years, and we've conversed back and forth. They're doing a lot of the same things, so he's got some familiarity with it, and obviously an incredible athlete. So Very excited about Tally.
Yeah, John, I'm going to apologize if you already answered.
Pretty straightforward. He's talking about Taliese Fuaga, number 14 overall first round pick. He's telling us Taliese fits what they want to do on the offensive line. Not only that, he did it in college. Not only that, John Benton. And just to kind of let you a little background on John Benton, longtime college offensive line coach, and got into the NFL. He's been in the NFL about 20 years as offensive line coach, run game coordinator, a couple of different teams around the NFL, including San Francisco recently with Kyle Shanahan and Clint Kubiak. He says it, Taliese fits what they want. They knew that going in. It's very familiar already with the system that they plan on implementing. Kind of just confirming everything that we've been hearing since we selected Taliese in the first round. And I'll bring up again, I hope y'all been able to see that literally minutes after we made the pick at 14, Jim Nagy, one of the leading authorities on college scouting and the executive director of the Senior Bowl in Mobile, had nothing but high praise for Fuaga. Saints fans really need to feel good about this, and he's telling us that. We're gonna let it play out because he's gonna come back to some of the issues that Saints fans may have with how they're using Fuaga.
This, but sounds like you kind of answered it. What's going to be your philosophy with this offensive line?
Philosophy as a whole, kind of what I was saying before is, as opposed to just being strong and physical and trying to knock them off the ball, which obviously I hope we do. The emphasis is really on cutting off pursuit, winning angles against the defense, and that type of thing. So we take a more athletic approach from that standpoint. And those are the kind of principles we're trying to do now.
Do you feel you have those type players on this roster?
I do. I think the talent is there. I was, another lack of a better term, I was drooling over Eric McCoy when he was coming out in the draft. I'm very excited to be with him. Caesar, I could say the same thing. Trevor's a great, we have some athletes that are more than capable of what we need to do. And a lot of times it's just a little different in mindset that we get that instilled in them. I think we'll be successful.
I know it's early. I know a lot of the emphasis is going to be on Trevor Penning, but what have you seen from Trevor so far?
I'm going to come back to that part in a second. But he kind of reiterates, he was asked again basically the same question the very first reporter asked him. So he kind of circle back around. But he re-emphasized, make no mistake about it. He wants the O lineman to be very strong and very physical. Physicality is a huge part of this, of everything they're trying to do. But he's also stressing, as physical as they want him to be, they need to be really more athletic, definitely equally athletic. So a lot that goes on with these linemen. And Eric McCoy, who's right now, truly the only one offensive lineman we have starting. He's a guy that clearly Benton, who's been running offensive lines in these versions of zone schemes for a decade and a half. When McCoy was coming out with, and I don't know which club he was with at the time, but as a rookie, he draft pick, he'd have loved to have had Eric McCoy, and he's telling you that straight out. I was drooling all over the guy. He's perfect for what we're trying to do.
Everything's very positive so far. I think, as I said, I think he's experienced, from what I've heard anyway, he's experienced some bad luck. Just the fact that we're 18 days into it, and he's been at every practice, every training session, is healthy, feels good. Well, I thought he looked good today. I think all arrows are up on Trevor right now, and just keep that going.
And I'm sure this is a repeat as well, but Fuaga plays right tackle all through college.
And we're going to stop it right there because they're about ready to get into the wee bit of a controversy about Fuaga and Penning. But that part, I wanted to stop right there because I really wish somebody would have pressed John Benton on. I've heard he's always experienced some bad luck talking about Trevor Penning. Did he mean the injuries that Penning had? Did he mean the Saints having really no idea if he was the type of lineman they needed in the scheme that they were running at the time under Pete Carmichael and Doug Marrone as back then as the offensive line coach? Did he mean that the Saints had no idea he wasn't ready to start day one? Because that would be a bit of bad luck when they're penciling you in to start day one. And kind of the next part is that did he mean they had no idea how to develop him and get him ready as a young player to be able to start at left tackle at day one? Is it bad luck? They just kind of assumed it was going to happen. Because that's what I feel like so much around Trevor Penning, that when you look a little bit, same thing about Cesar Ruiz. And you can label them both as first-round draft busts because they have not lived up to their first-round draft capital. Penning's done really absolutely nothing. Ruiz has gotten a little better, but still they're largely disappointing our expectations. So they both he might be saying bad luck without trying to throw shade at the previous staff. I don't know. I really wish we'd have been able to get more of an explanation on what bad luck was. So the injury was bad luck, but some of the other stuff, non-development, non-ready to play, some of that's probably on Penning himself, but some of that's definitely on the coaching staff, the previous coaching staff.
Trevor's played
Yeah.
his whole life, and you guys flip-flop them.
What are we
what's
thinking?
the philosophy behind that? Yeah.
Well, really, it all started before we knew we had Fuaga.
Yeah.
We just really felt like Trevor, from his experience and whatnot, needed a fresh start. And I'm really of the belief there's not that much difference between right and left tackle. So, and with Ramczyk probably being an injury casualty, let's move Trevor over there. And then,
okay, that last part is a huge, huge nugget because we've been speculating and over the course of the off season that there was a possibility that Ramczyk was really in trouble of being able to play this year and possibly ever again. A lot of things that the contract restructure that he did, drafting of Fuaga, obviously, some of the stuff putting out there about the fact that the procedure he had done in the offseason and the knees didn't seem to really work, and they were speculating he may not be ready for training camp. And he's kind of saying that they're expecting him to be an injury casualty. I really all but confirms what the speculation has been growing that definitely for 2024, Trevor Penning is likely done. And we'll see what the future holds, but I don't think anybody's necessarily too confident about it. Another thing he talked about is, and this is echoing something Jim Nagy said right after in that press conference, right after we drafted Fuaga. Nagy said, I know offensive line coaches and coordinators and offensive coaching all throughout the league has mentioned to me at various times that they want to get away from being left-handed, right-handed, ambidextrous type defense. That what defenses are doing and what the offenses are trying to do, that distinction, the old timey-wimey way, and a lot of that had to do with the gap scheme, and a lot of that had to do with what the defense was doing with pass rushers and run defenders. There was a distinct difference between a left tackle and a right tackle. He's kind of saying they're blurring the lines more and more in the modern NFL. And I only bring this up, really, and then he's going to talk about it a little more. As Saints fans, we're going to have to get used to the idea And for those of us that were back in 2006, we did it back then. The idea of an evolving offense looking very different than the offense we had been seeing for the previous decade or 2 decades, however long it's been. This is definitely going to be a totally different look, different philosophy, different means to the end. They're still trying to do the same things, but they're going about it. It's going to look strange. It's probably going to seem strange, and it's probably going to want us cause us to bitch and moan at times. But we're just going to have to resign ourselves that better to move forward in this, like a lot of NFL teams are doing and doing successfully, than staying stuck in the past on some stuff that looks like it's becoming more and more archaic for an NFL offense.
Tally has had experience at left tackle and definitely is the athlete to do it over there. So just decided to stay with it after the draft. And I think it's been, we won't know, but it looks good so far. I think they're both responded well.
Why do you think it?
He is being so honest in this interview because he's telling you, look, we think it's going to work. It should work, giving you the reasons why, talking about how Penning's looking more comfortable and better on the right side. Fuaga should be able to play the left side, no problem. And we want to blow to the lines where we want not to be pass rusher on this side, bulldozing run guy on this side, but where both are doing very similar things. But then he's being honest, going, man, we hope it works. And I don't think he's meaning, I'm not taking, considering the experience, not only him, but Rick Dennison, Clint Kubiak, you have a ton of NFL experience on that. So this isn't like a shot in the dark, but he is being honest. Look, nothing's certain in life, and nothing is definitely not certain in the NFL when you're talking about offensive schemes, implementing these type of wholesale changes with an offensive line that's very, very shaky.
It's not that big of a.
Well, I think it used to be. It used to go through the season and the best pass rushers were always on our left. And that's not true anymore. Defense has got smart, and it's maybe not 50-50, but close to it. We're a very ambidextrous offense from a run game standpoint. You used to put your big slobber knocker at right tackle and your athletic guy at left tackle, but we're going to go both directions and be athletic. So I really don't, the characteristics we need for both tackles are essentially the same.
Ambidextrous offense. We want to be able to do the same exact things, going to the left, going to the right, no longer left-handed and right-handed. And you just kind of brought it up. Best pass rusher always, pass blocker went on the left side. Your best run blocker always went on the right side. And he's saying now, no, we want to be able to run to the right side. We want to be able to run left. The defense is going to be moving pass rushes around, so they both going to have to be able to pass block. So if they're both doing the same thing, the side, and I'm sure it does matter. Somebody brought up the difference between if you're driving in the USA, you're driving on the right side of the road. You go to England, you drive on the left side of the road. It's a period of adjustment, and not everybody can do it. So that's a valid point. But if they can both pick it up, that kind of, for lack of a better word, being on the wrong side of the road, but still being able to operate the vehicle and doing it effectively and efficiently, it's not really going to be a problem. And these guys are no dummies. This isn't their first rodeo. If it doesn't work, not only will they not do what the previous coaching staff on the offensive side did, which was try to keep jamming a square peg in a round hole and forcing it to work. No, they'll make changes. There's no doubt in my mind they'll make changes. And there's no doubt in my mind they have a plan B, C, D, E. God knows how far out. If it doesn't work, what they're going to try next, what they're going to do next. It's not going to be throwing darts at the wall. So I feel comfortably that everything is in good hands with this group. We'll see how it plays out. And even with all the experience you have in this coaching staff, all their efforts to update the offense more into what the modern NFL is doing, and to kind of fit more and more the personnel you're getting from college. Because even down there, you're seeing more and more, to some points exclusively, some teams running pure zone. So you're getting offensive linemen, you're getting skilled position players who are used to a zone scheme and not really comfortable in the gap. So we'll see how it plays out. And one more thing, when he was talking a little bit about Cesar Ruiz and his being athletic, that may be more of a fit for him. But one thing that I heard in the OTA last week, where this was taken from, he showed up like 12 pounds lighter than he had been playing, and looking like in really good physical athletic shape. I went, because may have to be a little lighter to be a little more athletic, but that's what they're looking for. As long as he can stay physical and he's just not going to get blown around and pushed around, should be a good thing. We know Penning is athletic. We just know fundamentally he had some issues. Hopefully they're working on that and fixing the footwork, the balance, and all that other stuff. Fixing that. I think these guys are. And we know what Fuaga is, or what they're telling us he is, but everybody's pretty much in agreement. There's really no dissenting voices on him. See what happens on the left side with him. So all in all, I think in a span of 4 or 5 minutes and 4 or 5 questions, John Benton really, really let us get a peek behind the curtain about what they're trying to do, how they're going to do it, at least initially, until it works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, well, they're going to move on. We haven't seen this kind of honesty in quite a few years in the Saints with anybody coming up, and it's not like he's giving away massive secrets, but it's not like he's gaslighting us either. Because he specifically said at one point, hope it works. He's basically saying, look, I don't know for sure. I feel good about it. This is what we do. This is what we're trying to do. This is how we're going to get there. And we're not really going to find out till September. We kick the ball off. So I felt, kind of looking at this, anybody who's overly concerned right now about the shape of the offensive line, who's playing where, how we're going to do this. It's still May, almost June. They just started the second OTAs yesterday. Let's still give it a little more time and see how it plays out. So there you have it. In his own words, the Saints' new offensive line coach kind of giving a peek on how they want the offensive line to operate as a scheme and as a unit, who they think they're going to use and how they think they're going to get there. So in the comments below, you should let us know what you think about these changes that they are making, and will it help fix the offensive line? Will it make it worse? And if you have any potential changes you'd like to throw out there, drop those in the comments too, and let's have a little discussion about it. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Try to keep you up on the latest news and analysis as fast as we can on the Saints. And please check out our other videos for coverage of all things Saints football. And until next time, I'm Tim. Peace out. Who dat?